Should we start, Roshan?
Yeah, Jiddu bhai, start.
Okay. સૌને રામ કબીર. આજે આપણે એક નવા સેશન, નવા વિષય સાથે આવ્યા છીએ, which is a great subject to be personally. So before we start, let's get our Guruji's blessings, and then I'll have one Sakhi of Kabir Sahib, and then we'll start today's Zoom meeting after that. So ફરીથી સૌને રામ કબીર. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwarai, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. ગુરુ શ્રી કબીર સાહેબની એક સાખીનું વાંચન કરું છું અને એક થોડી સમજ છે. કબીર સબ જગ નિર્ધના, કબીર સબ જગ નિર્ધના, ધનવંતા નહીં કોઈ, ધનવંતા નહીં કોઈ, ધનવંતા સોઈ જાનીએ, રામ નામ ધન હોય. કબીર સાહેબ ખૂબ જ સરસ આપણને સાખીમાં સમજાવે છે કે આખા જગતમાં કોઈ જે બધા જ લોકો નિર્ધન છે, કોઈ પણ ધનવાન નથી. કારણ કે પૈસા, જર, ઝવેરાત, હીરા, રત્નરૂપી ધનથી કોઈ પણ ધનવાન બનતું નથી. પરંતુ ધનવાન એ જ છે જેની પાસે રામ નામ રૂપી ધન છે, જેને કોઈ ચોરી નથી શકતું, જેને ખર્ચ કરવાથી જે ઘટી નથી જતું અને દિન પ્રતિદિન તેમાં વધારો જ થાય છે. ખૂબ જ સુંદર કબીર સાહેબ સમજાવે છે કે આપણી પાસે રામ નામનું જે ધન છે તે જ આપણું સાચું ધન છે જીવનમાં. અને આપણે ગુરુશ્રીના આશીર્વાદ લઈને દરેક સારા કામોની શરૂઆત કરીએ છીએ. તો આજની હું ઝૂમ મીટિંગનું શરૂઆત કરું છું. I will give this to Kavitaben. Kavitaben, go ahead.
સૌને રામ કબીર. આજે ઓટિઝમ અવેરનેસના ઝૂમ સેશન પર તમે બધા આવ્યા તે માટે તમારો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર. ઓલમોસ્ટ દોઢેક મહિના પહેલા આપણે ઘણા બધા પોસ્ટપાર્ટમ ડિપ્રેશનનું અવેરનેસ માટે ઝૂમ પર ભેગા થયા હતા અને આ બધા ઓનલાઈન અવેરનેસના કાર્યક્રમ રાખી મારા અને ઘણા બધા સમાજ મેમ્બર્સની એ જ ઈચ્છા છે કે આપણે સમાજમાં, આપણી દુનિયામાં જુદા જુદા લોકો, એમની જુદી સમસ્યાઓ, એમની જુદી જુદી સ્થિતિઓની જાણકારી રાખીએ અને એમની સમક્ષ એક સાચી સમજણ અને સહાનુભૂતિથી રહીએ. To live amongst one another with an awareness of different types of people, their different experiences, their various struggles, their strengths, and to be empathetic. As a mental health professional, એક માનસિક આરોગ્યની પ્રોફેશનલ અને સ્ટુડન્ટ હોવાથી મને ઘણીવાર હેરાની થાય જ્યારે લોકો કોઈ બીજાની માનસિક બીમારીથી પીડાતા, કોઈ માનસિક બીમારીથી પીડાતા લોકો કે એમની જુદી માનસિક સ્થિતિઓ વિશે એકદમ ડિસરિસ્પેક્ટફુલી કે ઇગ્નોરન્સથી વાત કરીએ. જ્યારે કોઈ ડિપ્રેશનમાં હોય કે કોઈને કોઈ સામાન્યથી વિશેષ પ્રકારનો ડર હોય, બેચેની હોય, ચિંતા હોય, તો તેમને ગાંડું કહેવું કે એમને વિચિત્ર સમજવું is a matter of shame and disgrace. So our awareness Zoom sessionsનું એક જ મકસદ છે to become accepting of all people, to normalize all people and their experiences, and to live with each other with respect and empathy. Autism શું છે? આપણા પેનલિસ્ટ આપણને ડિટેલ્સમાં સમજાવશે, પણ ઓટિઝમ એક ગંભીર વિકાસલક્ષી અવ્યવસ્થા છે જે વાતચીત કરવાની અને આદાન પ્રદાન કરવાની ક્ષમતાને નબળી પાડે છે. It's a developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. autism has a range and severity of symptoms, and they can vary widely. Autismના લક્ષણોની તીવ્રતા મોટા પ્રમાણમાં અલગ હોય છે. એટલે કોઈ બી બે છોકરાઓ જેને ઓટિઝમ હોય તે એકદમ સેમ હોય તેની શક્યતા બહુ જ ઓછી હોય છે. So I thank all of our panelists from the bottom of my heart for taking time to put this presentation together and making efforts to help all of us better understand what autism is. આપણા ત્રણ પેનલિસ્ટમાં છે એક ડોક્ટર આશા દેસાઈ ભક્ત. She has a double PhD and is a board certified behavioral analyst at the doctorate level. Srimati Dipali Patel, who has a master's in speech language pathology, and she does just that. She's a speech language pathologist. And Srimati Heena Shah, she's a mother, જેમના છોકરાને જે autism spectrum પર છે. So thank you all for being here with us. બધાને રિક્વેસ્ટ કરું છું કે પ્રેઝન્ટેશન વખતે તમને કોઈ પણ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ કે કોમેન્ટ્સ હોય તો તમારા ફોન પર કે સાઇટ પર લખી રાખજો. આખું પ્રેઝન્ટેશન પતે પછી જ આપણે ક્વેશ્ચન્સ માટે ફ્લોર ઓપન કરીશું. Okay, so let's get started. Let me share my screen. And દેખાતું છે ને બધાને?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Ram Kabir Gamcho. I would like to start off by thanking the Sri Ram Kabir Bhakta Samaj for having us to do this presentation. So, next slide. Okay. So my name is Dipali Bhakta. I am a speech language pathologist and I practice in the state of Maryland. So I wanted to start this presentation by talking a little bit about fixed mindset and growth mindset. એટલે તમે fixed mindset વાળા એક જગ્યાએ જો, like a good કે bad, ને growth mindset વાળા બધું જોવું જોઈએ કે આ કેવી રીતે થઈએ, શું થાય, and just thinking of how things can change. એટલે કેવી રીતે બદલી શકીએ આપણે. So this is very important for when you're working with children with autism or have children with autism. So children with autism, amuk loko em jane ke children with autism cannot learn. એટલે loko hiki ni sake. Instead, having a growth mindset would be very useful. Children with autism learn in different ways. Iloko biji rite hike, upper traditional way tini hike. Children with autism cannot talk. એટલે લોકો બોલી નહીં શકે. When you think of it in a growth mindset aspect, children with autism learn to communicate in different ways. એટલે એ લોકો જુદી રીતે બોલતા શીખે, communicate કરતા શીખે. એ થોડીક વારમાં વાત કરા જ કેવી રીતે એ લોકો different ways થી શીખે તે. So children with autism cannot be independent. એટલે એ લોકોથી independently જિંદગીમાં કોઈ દિવસ નહીં રહેવા હે. But instead having a growth mindset that children with autism can become very independent adults. So એ લોકો મોટા થઈને એ લોકોનું જાતનું કરી શકે, વધારે job રખાય, lots of different avenues for them. એટલે એ લોકો બધું કરી શકે. Next slide. Autism spectrum, no basic facts. Like Kavita said, it's a developmental disorder. It's neurological. Elokoni brain evidite wire telioi. And it happens over time. So it starts as early as, the symptoms can start as early as 8 to 10 months. So 1 out of 54 children will be diagnosed with autism by the age of 8. It's 4 times more prevalent in boys. So boys ne vadare thai girls karta. Children with ASD, autism spectrum disorder, have difficulty communicating. એટલે એ લોકો બોલી નહીં શકે કે હરખી રીતે નહીં બોલી શકે, આપણને સમજાવાય નહીં હરખી રીતે. They have difficulty socializing. So એ લોકોથી આપણે કેમ આવી રીતે socialize કરે, હમણાં Zoom થી socialize કરતા છે, but socialize કરતા નહીં આવડે, કેવી રીતે રમવાનું નહીં સમજ પડે. And then they have difficulty regulating their emotions. So amokwa રડવાની જગ્યાએ હસી પડે, એ લોકોની emotions હરખી રીતે નહીં બતાવાય. And autism spectrum has many variations. So like Kavita said, when you meet one person with autism, ek poira tamar male autism waro to ek poira male. એટલે બધા જુદા જુદા રીતે બતાવે autism કેવી રીતે છે. અમુક low functioning હોય, એ લોકો non-verbal હોય, intellectually disabled હોય, બીજું બધું આવતું હોય. But then there's some kids that are high functioning. So એ લોકો બોલતા હોય, પણ સોશિયલાઇઝ કરતા નહીં આવડે, કેવી રીતે રમવાનું બીજા પોયરાએ હાથે, કેવી રીતે વાત કરવાનું તે નહીં સમજ પડતી હોય એ લોકોને. So next slide. Okay. So here's some signs and symptoms. એ લોકો હું થોડું વાત કરી કે કેવા symptoms હોય તે, but in not point એ લોકો નટલા પોયરાએ તમે જોયેલા હોય ને તો એ લોકો તમારે બતાવે, point કરીને બતાવે કે આ મને જોવે, આ મને રમવું છે. So these kids might not show that interest. એટલે એ લોકોને બહુ interest નહીં હોય, એ લોકો એકલા જ રમ્યા કરતા હોય. Not able to relate to others and interest in others. So કોઈ માણસ તમે આપણે નટલું પોયરા હોય તો આપણને જોઈ તો રડતા હોય તો એ લોકો કદાચ આવે પાસે હગ આપે, એ લોકોને આવી રીતે નહીં સમજ પડે કે children with autism એ લોકોને સમજ નહીં પડે કે હું કરું. એ લોકોની દુનિયામાં ચાલતા હોય અમુક વાર. Avoids eye contact or looking at others. એટલે એ લોકો બીજા લોકોને નહીં જોઈ, and repeats actions and words. એ લોકો અમુક વાર આમ અગાડી પછાડી કરતા હોય કે એકને એક જ ગાઈને બોયલા કરતા હોય, એકને એક જ ધૂન વગાડ્યા કરતા હોય એ લોકોના મગજમાં ને હમ કર્યા કરતા હોય. They have trouble requesting needs. એટલે એ લોકોથી એમ નહીં કહેવાય કે મને chips જોઈતી છે, મને cookies જોઈતી છે. They might have difficulty with that. Does not like to be held. So અમુક વાર પોયરાએ આપણે નટલા પોયરાએ હોય તો રડતા હોય તો આપણે પિકઅપ કરીએ, calm down કરીએ એ લોકોને. આ પોયરાએથી અમુક વાર નહીં ગમે, પકડવાનું નહીં ગમે, હોલ કરવાનું નહીં ગમે, હગ નહીં કરવાનું ગમે. They are unaware of when people are speaking to them. They can't, એટલે એ લોકો અમુક વાર આપણે બોલતા હોઈએ ને, બોલાવીએ, નામથી બોલાવીએ, પણ એ લોકોને આપણને એમ લાગે કે એ લોકો બહેરા હે. So they don't, એ લોકો acknowledge નહીં કરે કે મારી હાથે કોઈ વાત કરતું છે. They have difficulty understanding others' feelings. Like I said before, અગાડી હું બોલી કે એ લોકો કોઈ માણસ રડતું હોય કે હસતું હોય, એ લોકોને નહીં સમજ પડે અમુક વાર કે કેવી રીતે react કરવાનું, કે કેમ એ લોકો રડતા હે, કેમ બહુ હસતા છે, અમુક વાર નહીં સમજ પડે. So Kavita, can you play the video? આ વિડીયોમાં તમે જોહો કે આ નટલી પોળી પીહુ છે, એને કેવી રીતે બધા આખી દુનિયાને જોઈ. So go ahead.
हाय, मेरा नाम पीहू है और मैं 8 साल की हूँ. मैं भी बाकी सभी बच्चों की तरह हूँ, लेकिन मुझमें कुछ चीजें अलग हैं. मेरी शक्ल से या मुझे देखने से ये सब किसी को नहीं पता चलता है। इसीलिए शायद सब सोचते हैं कि मेरे लिए भी दुनिया बिल्कुल वैसी ही है जैसे कि किसी और बच्चे के लिए। लेकिन मुझे भी तो नहीं पता था कि और बच्चे मुझसे अलग महसूस करते हैं। लेकिन अब कभी कभी मुझे लगता है कि शायद मैं ही अलग हूँ, पर ये नहीं समझ आया कि कैसे अलग हूँ और क्यों अलग हूँ। ऑटिज्म, अपने आप में खोए रहना। मेरे आसपास के लोगों को लगता है शायद कि मुझे किसी से कोई मतलब नहीं है और मैं हमेशा सिर्फ अपने आप में ही खोई रहती हूँ, पर मैं ये जानबूझ के नहीं करती हूँ। हर एक बच्चा वही करना पसंद करता है जिसमें उसे सबसे ज्यादा मजा आता हो या फिर कंफर्ट मिलती हो या सुकून मिलता हो। मुझे भी खेलना बहुत अच्छा लगता है, बस मेरा तरीका अलग है। मुझे, जैसे आपने देखा ना, इसकी आवाज और हाथ में जो झटका लगता है वो बहुत पसंद है। और जो चीजें शायद साधारण बच्चों के लिए मजेदार होती होंगी, जैसे औरों के साथ खेलना, वो मेरे लिए अपने टॉयज से ज्यादा मजेदार नहीं है। हो सकता है कि मैं सीख सकूं, लेकिन अंदर से मैं ऐसी नहीं बनी हुई। मेरा तरीका अलग है। बच्चों को समझ आता है कि उनके पापा हमेशा उनके लिए अच्छी अच्छी चीजें लेके आते हैं, कोशिश करते हैं उनके लिए कुछ अच्छा करें, या ये उनका प्यार करने का तरीका है। लेकिन वो मुझे अभी नहीं समझ में आता है। मेरा तरीका अलग है। कई बार जो मम्मी का प्यार करने का या सुकून देने का तरीका होता है वो मुझे आराम नहीं देता, क्योंकि मेरा तरीका ही अलग है ना। लोग अपने सेंसेस को इस्तेमाल करके दुनिया में हो रही चीजों को समझते हैं और दुनिया से इंटरेक्ट भी करते हैं। हम सारी जिंदगी इन सेंसेस के जरिए अपने आसपास की दुनिया का एक नक्शा सा अपने दिमाग में बनाते हैं और जो भी आसपास हो रही एक्टिविटीज को समझकर उन पर रिएक्ट करते हैं। इन इंद्रियों के अलावा आपको लोगों और चीजों का फर्क बचपन से ही पता होता है। परिवार में पापा और मम्मी कौन होते हैं, समाज में टीचर कौन होते हैं, ये सब देख देख कर बच्चे सीख जाते हैं। इस समझ से हमारा व्यवहार अलग अलग जगहों पे अलग होता जाता है। जैसे मम्मी और टीचर से हम अलग तरीके से बात करना सीख लेते हैं। मेरा जो नर्वस सिस्टम है उसकी वायरिंग ज्यादातर बच्चों से अलग है, जिसकी वजह से शुरू से ही मुझे हर चीज वैसी दिखाई, सुनाई या महसूस नहीं होती जैसे ज्यादातर बाकी बच्चों को होती है। कभी किसी का एक बार प्यार करने का तरीका होता है, जरा सी आवाज या कोई अलग सी अगर महक आ जाती है मुझे, मैं बहुत परेशान हो जाती हूँ। और कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि कुछ चीजें ऐसी हो जाती हैं जो मुझे पता ही नहीं चलती। पर ऑटिज्म में ऐसा नहीं होता कि कोई सेंस बिल्कुल काम नहीं कर रहा, बल्कि सेंसेस अलग तरीके से काम करते हैं। मान लें कि जैसे कोई फिल्टर लगा हुआ है, सिग्नल्स को अलग ढंग से समझता है, या कभी ब्लॉक कर देता है या कभी बढ़ा देता है। फिल्टर लगे होने के साथ साथ जब ये सिग्नल्स मेरे ब्रेन तक पहुंचते हैं, जिस तरह मेरा ब्रेन इन सिग्नल्स को समझता है वो भी अलग है, जिसके कारण मेरा रिस्पॉन्स, मतलब जो मैं सिग्नल्स के बाद समझकर और रिस्पॉन्ड करती हूँ, वो भी अलग हो सकता है। और इसलिए मेरा व्यवहार भी अलग दिखाई देता है। ऑटिज्म में ब्रेन की बनावट कुछ इस तरह की होती है कि लोगों की तरफ इतना रुझान नहीं होता जितना चीजों की तरफ होता है। इसलिए लोगों और चीजों की दुनिया अलग कैसे है, क्या फर्क है, इसमें मुझे समझना मुश्किल लगता है। पर मैं सीख सकती हूँ। दोस्ती और रिश्तों के सलीके मुझे अलग ही तरीके से समझ आते हैं। आप और मैं एक दूसरे से बहुत ज्यादा अलग नहीं है, बस ऑटिज्म मुझे इस दुनिया को आपकी तरह समझने से रोकता है, मगर आप अगर कोशिश करें तो मेरी तरफ की दुनिया को समझ सकते हैं और फिर धीरे धीरे हम शायद एक दूसरे को भी समझने लगे, है ना?
Okay. Next slide. So treatment and intervention for children with autism, kain cure nathi. Autism એ તમારી brain જેવી રીતે develop થયેલી હોય કે કોઈ cure usually દવા કે કઈ diet કે એવું help type where it won't cure it. It'll cure it look on symptoms help type. So interventions to reduce symptoms. So kadach tamae children's autism wala children hoy to e loko ABA therapist ne malwa jai an applied behavior analysis. E loko evi rite hikwe ke behaviors hoy કે એ લોકો થી adapt નહીં થવાતું હોય દુનિયાથી તો તે કેવી રીતે adapt કર્યા with socially significant behaviors. And the children's progress is tracked and measured. So એ લોકોનો progress કેવી રીતે વધારતા જવાય ને તેવી રીતે એ લોકો data collect કરીને measure કરે કે next શું કરવાનું છે આપણે આ child ને help કરવા હારું. Speech language therapists, which is what I am, and they help to communicate social skills hikve. So and they can also help with feeding. So amukwar bolta hikve, communicate karta hikve, social karta hikve, and amukwar elokoti amuk jatnu foods ni kamtu hoy એટલે તેનામાં help કરે કે આ different textures કે એવી રીતે introduce કરે feeding માટે. For occupational therapy, they work on teaching, helping develop independent living skills. એટલે કેવી રીતે કપડા પહેરવાના, કેવી રીતે ખાવાનું, કેવી રીતે bath લેવાનો, કેવી રીતે તમારાથી બીજા લોકો હાથે relate થાય કે એ લોકો also handwriting પર શીખવા, તમારા હાથ કેવી રીતે ચાલવા ને તેવી રીતે તેનું શીખવા. A lot of the times insurance companies will cover these services. So ABA therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, most times insurance companies cover કરે એટલે તમે insurance company હાથે વાત કરવી પડે. તમારે insurance company હાથે વાત કરવી પડે. Next. Okay. For speech language therapy and autism, speech therapy એ લોકો બોલતા શીખવે. So આપણે અમુક તમે જાણતા હો કે તોતરેતા હોય તે clear બોલતા શીખવે. So sometimes kids have language એટલે આપણે બોલતા હોય ને ત્યારે બે વસ્તુ happening થતી હોય. આપણે કેવી રીતે understand કરીએ ને કેવી રીતે બોલીએ. So a speech therapist will help with that. They help with communication. So among children with autism specifically, or not with all many disorders, એ લોકો ઓછું બોલતા હોય કે ની બોલતા આવડે. So speech therapist એ લોકોને જુદી રીતે શીખવે. એ લોકોને body language through શીખવે કે sign language through શીખવે, pictures use કરતા શીખવે કે જુદા જુદા રીતે pictures બતાવે કે મને chips જોવે, cookies જોવે. And then they also teach with alternative augmentative communication. એટલે અમુક વાર iPad હોય કે અમુક વાર જુદી જુદી નટલું technology box હોય તેવી રીતે શીખવે બોલતા કે I want play. એટલે એ લોકો બહાર રમવા જવું છે. And then also they teach with pragmatic social skills. So understanding body language. E લોકો આપણે બોલતા હોય ને તે about 60% of, I mean, not 60, 40% of our words are just what we speak. So આપણે બોલતા હોય ને તે 40% જ બોલીએ. But આપણે actions કેવી રીતે કરીએ, આપણા અર્થ કેવી રીતે કરીએ, આપણા facial expressions કેવી રીતે કરીએ, they sometimes kids with autism don't know. So as speech therapists કહે કે આ તમારા eyebrows, આ તમારું મોઢું જોવાનું, face જોવાનું, feelings જોવાના, એવી રીતે socialize હરખી રીતે કરાય. So I am going to turn it over to Asha.
Hello, Ram Kavi. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm going to go over the ABA therapy that behavior analysts do. So ABA works in conjunction with speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and even physical therapists, depending on what population and the severity of the child's deficits. One thing I do want to say about ABA is that it's not just for kids with autism. Through research, it's come to prove that it's also just as effective and successful for children with special needs of any kind, including Down syndrome, CP, and various other disorders, intellectual disabilities as well. It also works for typical developing kids if implemented correctly, but the best news, it also works for your spouses. So with the ABA team, what happens once the diagnosis has taken place, you have to do an assessment. Sorry, this is a slide, Kavita. You're going to do an assessment to determine what goals to implement and determine through observation and data collection what behaviors are going to be the most important for us to look at. So the biggest part of how a child gets diagnosed is that they're not developing at a typical stage. So when we go to the doctors and the pediatrician, they're not the ones hitting the milestones. There's going to be delays. They're going to have extreme behaviors that a typical developing child may also have, but they're not able to learn through natural teachings. So that's where ABA is going to come into play primarily for autism, as I said, but it's also just as equally effective for other diagnoses as well. So it is a scientific approach of us understanding behavior. It's a systematic way of using methods to improve and change behavior, and also just understanding that while we see that these are behaviors, that we can also work towards reducing the behaviors and increasing skill sets that are just as important. Okay, next slide. So when we have the ABA team come together and it's determined that you're going to start ABA therapy, you're going to start with therapists coming into the house. They work one-on-one with the child. We're assessing for what's the most important at that time for them to achieve the most success progress, and also making sure that we are hitting the prerequisites for every skill set. So we work towards looking at the behaviors and reducing them after we understand why it's occurring, replacing them with more socially appropriate behaviors, and then also teaching skill sets so that we can bridge the gap that is occurring between them and their peer at the same age that's developing at a typical development milestone and hitting their milestones. Each team of therapists will be overseen by a BCBA or a supervisor. Our job is to oversee the case, develop the programs, look at the behavior plans, look at the progress, what's working, what's not working, and make sure that we're monitoring it every so often to continuously keep changing and adding to the goals and so forth. Next slide. So ABA does take place primarily in the home. It starts at home. What you're hoping to do is once you're able to achieve instructional control and compliance, you want to then generalize those same skills in a community setting, in a clinic setting and or a school setting. And wherever the child is engaging in these behaviors, everybody needs to be consistently implementing the same interventions across all of those settings, or you will not see progress as you would like to see progress. What does ABA primarily do? Our role is to come in and decrease all of the maladaptive behaviors that have been observed and recorded through the assessment process. We're looking to replace it with communication skills as well as language, working closely with SLPs to make sure that we're all doing the same therapy and doing it in the right manner. We're looking to improve social functioning and promote independence, also work on behaviors in the community. So a lot of times parents will shy away from taking their kiddo out into the community because they're afraid of the behaviors that may or may not occur. They're embarrassed by the behaviors that are occurring, but our job is to first get that under control in the home setting and then go out into the community and generalize those skills. So overall, you're improving the quality of care and life, and also giving them the same opportunity to live a fully functional life instead of living under the umbrella of the diagnosis. So how do we implement ABA? We first have to go in, do an assessment, acknowledging what are the main deficits and what are the excesses of the child. What are their skill sets that they understand and have right now, which we call baseline? What are we going to implement as goals to improve upon those skills? What's also age appropriate? And then the biggest thing behavior analysts are known to do is we don't just look at the behavior in the setting that it's occurring. We don't just observe it. We analyze it. We are looking at why is this behavior occurring, and that's our job to identify the appropriate function. Because if you don't understand the function of why your child is engaging in that behavior, you will not successfully be able to decrease that behavior as well as replace it with appropriate skill sets. Now, in our community growing up, you got the look from the mom and dad, you got the jumble coming out of the veterinarian, and all of us understood we're going to be in big trouble right now, so our behavior was going to change. But it's the same approach. Because of that reinforcement history, because of that consequence history, we knew the next time that came out, we were not going to engage in that same behavior unless we wanted and enjoyed the consequence, okay? But in our situation, if you don't understand the why, you're not going to be able to effectively reduce the maladaptive behavior to levels that are socially appropriate. So our job isn't to make sure that your child is absolutely not engaging in behaviors. It's to bring it down to near zero levels, to bring it down to a place where they can function in the classroom setting. Because quite frankly, all kids engage in behaviors, adults engage in behaviors. And so we have to go in and look at the child engages in tantrum behavior at a very high frequency, and it lasts almost 30 to 45 minutes. That's a good part of their day that they're engaging in that behavior. So why are they engaging in that behavior? What are we going to implement so that it's far more reinforcing to use the replacement skill sets instead of engaging in that behavior? So some of the autism deficits include communication, social play, fine motor, gross motor, self-adaptive skills, safety skills. A lot of the stuff that comes naturally, a lot of the stuff that comes from learning by your environment, the people you're interacting with, your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, aunts, uncles. Your behavior is continuously changing and shifting. You may not recognize it, but it is. How people respond to you engaging in a behavior is going to further change how you engage in that behavior, if you're going to look towards decreasing it or increasing it. So the consequence, the reaction of others plays a big part in how that trajectory of that behavior is going to occur. When it comes to special needs kiddos, primarily autism, you have a whole new area of excesses. So again, our children will engage in tantrum-like behavior, elopement, aggressive, self-injurious, or stereotypical type behaviors. But children with autism take it to a different degree. Their magnitude, their intensity, and also how long they engage in those behaviors is what separates them from a typical developing kid. So, Kavita, sorry, next slide. If a child engages in tantrum behavior, all of us parents that have lived through the terrible twos, the tantruming threes, you know what that feels like. Eventually, what they say, quote unquote, they outgrow this behavior. It's not necessarily that they're outgrowing this behavior. It's they've learned through the environment, the consequences that were implemented, that behavior is no longer going to serve them. We have to teach our kids the same thing. So why is that child engaging in the tantrum-like behavior? Perhaps they don't have verbal skills or communication skills. Our job is to teach them those communication skills and replace the tantrum. Your child is hungry and is wanting some food. And instead of being able to point to the item or ask for it, they're going to probably throw themselves on the floor, start tantruming. And as a mom, you're going to start guessing, what is it that they're asking for? What is it that they want? I think they're hungry. The last time they ate was this. Maybe they had to go to the bathroom. Maybe that is going to take that away if you already know why they're tantruming. If I know that my child can't communicate, then the first step is to teach them some replacement words, even if it's gesture and pointing, or if it's giving them choices or one-word responses. Now I've taught my kid, if you're hungry and you use your words, you're going to get that food item. If you're hungry and you engage in tantrum behaviors, you're not going to get that food item. And so now we're teaching the kid to differentiate between what is going to gain them access to that reinforcer and what is absolutely not going to gain access to a reinforcer, okay? So next slide, communication impairments. Dipali kind of went over this. You have the non-vocal, non-verbal kids. There's communication delays. There's echolalia and perseverations. And so a lot of times our kids will watch videos and then engage in echolalia behavior where they're continuously scripting that. So while you're asking them a question, they're engaging in that repetitive behavior that has nothing to do with the conversation you're trying to have with them. The spectrum of autism is a huge range. And that's why it's very important when Kavita was talking that when you meet one kid with autism and then you know another kid with autism, even if they engage in similar behaviors, they're two completely different kids with two completely different autism on the spectrum. And you may have autism and have communication skill sets, but you may not know how to socially engage, or you may have other skill set deficits. You may have a child that has no verbal communication. And so it definitely does vary, and the age also varies. It depends on how early you were able to get in therapies, because the sooner you do it, the better the outcome. I've had families not implement therapy till the child was 15 and they completely were not able to communicate. So that's 15 years of their behaviors being reinforced a certain way. And our job is to come in and undo 15 years of reinforcement behaviors that were reinforced. So here's some clips that we can click on so that you can have a visual idea of what a non-vocal or communication delay kiddo would be like.
When he has a meltdown, I just feel like, oh, okay, like what do we need to do to calm him down? And I try to just keep in my mind that I don't want him to think that he'll get what he wants with meltdown. So I try to be really stern with him, but not like mean. So I always try to I just think to myself, like, don't be mean, but listen to him. Try to listen to him, but don't be mean. Don't give him what he wants, because he is throwing a meltdown and he's smart and he will catch on that that's how he gets it. And also I try to let him know that I'm listening, you know. So, and then there's different meltdowns. The ones that are at night, those are the worst, because you calm him down and then something triggers him again and he's just like freaking out again. And it's like you can't breathe wrong, because then that'll trigger it. You know, for us, the hardest thing with autism is that he's nonverbal. It's hard sometimes. Right now, he pulls me for whatever he wants. We're trying to incorporate PECs, so he's doing a lot of that now. Well, he's understanding the concept, so hopefully we'll start doing a lot of PECs. But right now, if he wants something, he'll take me to what he wants. He'll lift my hand up and kind of place it wherever he thinks he's gonna get, where he thinks what he wants is. So he just kind of like points at it and takes me.
Bobby? Bobby. Bobby, come. What do you want? Here, come in through here. Look, there's water, apple. What do you want? Play? Okay. Play you want.
Teacher to have a little meeting. I'm gonna ask her a few questions to see where he's at in class. I want to know what he's doing here so that the ABA specialists can work on that at home also, so that they're more synced, which I don't think they are right now.
How stressful do you feel right now?
Today, because I know the teacher said he's not doing too well, he's regressing. Feel 8 out of 10 stress.
Because he's doing ABA in school?
No, because he is going back. So the things that he already has learned, he is not doing them anymore. He's not doing eye contact to the teacher.
But is it because he's doing ABA in school?
They say it started once he started doing that.
Or maybe he feels a little bit overwhelmed.
That's what I'm thinking too. I mean,
everyone's trying to push all this information on him, and he just feels like, oh, too much.
But I'm sure after like a week or two, it should all balance out. But we'll find out what the teacher's thinking soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
The meeting with the teacher went really well. She let us know that he had a good day today, and hopefully with the information that I got with her, we'll be able to sync and have him learn kind of like where he needs to learn versus learning what he already learned and getting praised when he already did something he knows. So hopefully we'll be able to communicate more.
Kavita, one sec before you go to that video. So for Christian, you can see that they already used a picture exchange or a form of picture exchange. He had no vocal communication efforts. So showing him a picture and being able to at least start with that communication is also just as important, and another form of communication. So it's important to note communication doesn't necessarily have to be in the vocal verbal form. It could be in pictures form. And as Dipali went over, it could be with a device as well, which is something that came out way later when it came to implementing ABA and teaching our kids to talk, and then being able to pair it. So if he points to an icon that has chips, then they should be repeating chips. So the more he hears it, the more he might be able to also vocalize that, also during speech therapy sessions and so forth. So communication delay and echolalia are the next two videos.
Okay, this is my son Cross, and I'm sure you guys are gonna get so sick of hearing me brag about him, but I'm just really proud of him. And you know, he goes to a pre-K class for children with disabilities, and whenever I feel like he's doing really well, I just want to scream it from the rooftops. And and I post a lot about it, but a lot of times I like to have video to back it up, so that there's some truth behind what I'm saying. So, anyways, okay, Cross, can you answer some questions for me? And I'll give you some pink nerds. Cheese. Okay. What letter does the word snake start with?
S.
So sit up, because I can't see you.
S.
Yeah, that's right. What letter does the word dog start with?
D.
What letter does the word fish start with? Good. Fish. What letter does the word fish start with?
F.
F. What letter does the word zebra start with? Sit up. What letter does the word
Z.
Z, that's right. Okay, what letter does the word worm start with?
W.
Yeah. What letter does the word pig start with?
P.
Yes. Okay, now I'm gonna change it just a little bit. Does the word top, does the word top start with a P?
No.
What does it start with?
T.
T, that's right. Does the word cat start with a B? Sit up. What then? Okay, what did you say?
C.
Yes, it does start with a C. Okay. Does the word plant start with a P? Does the word plant start with a P?
P. Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay, good job. Okay, let's switch to numbers real fast. Let's see if you can do this. Okay, what?
2, 3, 4, 5.
I know you can count.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Hey Jacob, look at me.
Yeah.
Did you have a hot dog or a hamburger today?
Hamburger today.
Did you have a hamburger or a hot dog?
The hot dog.
One more time. Okay. Do you like chocolate or vanilla?
Banana.
Do you like vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
What's your favorite letter? Is it N or P?
My favorite. Okay. Hey, Lucas.
Yes.
What's your favorite alphabet?
What's my favorite letter of the alphabet?
Yeah.
It's probably K.
What's K?
Right there. Is your favorite letter N or O?
O.
Is it O or N?
N.
What's your favorite letter of the alphabet?
L.
L? Oh, okay. Cool, because it's my name?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice of you. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that sets children with autism apart from other diagnoses is they have a repetitive and stereotypical type behavior that actually characterizes them, and that's one of the main DSM-5 criteria as to how they get diagnosed. It's abnormal, it's intense, they're usually inflexible when it comes to their routines and rituals. So when we have a schedule and something comes in our way, we might have to be delayed or we have to cancel plans, we may get upset initially, and that might be our reaction, but we don't throw a tantrum over that change or that change in routine. So sometimes we kind of go with the flow, sometimes we accept what change has happened. They're unable to do that. So that's when you're going to see the intensity, the magnitude, and the duration of that behavior occur. They also engage in repetitive mannerisms. So they're continuously hand flapping, twisting, they're having whole body movements, they're galloping or pacing across the room. These are things that are serving them as a self-serving reinforcer. So that's going to increase or maintain as far as the frequency of that behavior goes. And they also have preoccupation with object parts. So a lot of times kids will lie down, they will look at wheels turning on a car, but they'll look at it from an angle, not sitting up like a typical developing child might do. So they have very distinct behaviors that's going to set them apart, and that's how the autism diagnosis came out, or was characterized as so. Some social impairments, moving on to the next slide, Kavita. You have isolated play, which we saw with Dipali's PowerPoint video as well. Lack of interest, they don't want to interact, they don't want to touch. They try to they don't have conversation skills, so they don't have conversations. The joint attention skills are limited. They're not able to initiate or join. Some of our kids that may have initial social skills, they may be wanting to be very social, but in a group setting, they wouldn't know how to even start or initiate that. And they might say something that makes it socially awkward, and then they're going to be dismissed, and then their behavior was not reinforced. Therefore, they might not continue or want to engage in that behavior. They love to talk about the same thing over and over. Even if they ask you a question and you respond, they're going to want to ask you the same question because you're responding, and that's giving them some form of reinforcement. So there's a lot of prereqs, foundational skills that we have to teach, and then we have to shape those behaviors depending on what setting that behavior is occurring in. And you can have the same conversation multiple times, But then at some point, depending on their age, you also want to teach them when it's appropriate to talk about that topic and when it's not appropriate. And also not to engage in repetitive conversation topics, because that's not natural development of conversations. The next couple of slides is where behavior analysts is really important, because once again, we come in to identify the function of behavior. We get to tell you why. Why is your child engaging in that behavior? You get to tell us when they're engaging in it, what's occurring, what does it look like, and we'll be able to provide you with the why. Once you know the why and you're able to pair a proper intervention, you're going to see progression towards the reduction of that behavior. So in ABA, the 4 functions exist under the SEAT acronym. You have self-stimulatory behavior, which is automatic, escape avoidance, attention seeking, and then access to tangibles. I'm going to go through each function because I do think it's really important as to what and why ABA is so effective. When we have self-stimulatory behavior, those are the behaviors that the children are engaging in because it's providing some type of automatic reinforcement. If you think about it, all of us actually engage in this behavior. Whether you're flicking with your pen, whether you're twirling your hair, whether you are tapping a pencil on a desk, we all engage in this behavior. Why? Because it provides us with some type of reinforcement input to our body senses. And so our behavior is going to maintain or it's going to increase. Because our kids are so self-isolated most of the time, this is the behavior they engage in at a very, very high frequency or count. And because of that, they actually are allowing these behaviors to impede on having a social interaction or even learning in a learning situation or in a school environment, okay? So we have to come in and break a behavior that is automatically reinforcing that child. When we come in and implement an intervention and try to break that pattern or that routine, we're gonna start seeing other behaviors such as tantrum, aggression. You know, we've seen it all, I've experienced it all. Once they start seeing that they're not going to get away with it, because it's a battle of will between the therapist and the child. You may sit for 45 minutes and not get any work done, but if the child disengages in that tantrum behavior, guess what? The therapist won. And that's also telling the therapist that we have all the time in the world, the child, that we have time to sit through that behavior. And if they ended up engaging in the replacement behavior, then again, the therapist won. And that's where they're going to start distinguishing that my behavior is not worth it. It's just too much effort to engage in that behavior when I can just use my words and still gain access to the same reinforcer. And then the next one is function and escape. So this is when, if there's already an existing task taking place and they don't want to do it, they're going to run away or they're going to engage in other behaviors to try to get out of doing that behavior, right? A lot of times it's when we're trying to ask our kids to help us with chores, and then they decide that that's when they want to engage in a behavior or take a potty break. They're trying to get away from what we're asking them to do. When we're avoiding it, that task hasn't even begun, okay? So they know it's coming. At 7 o'clock, they have to do their chores. At that time, they're gonna realize, well, now I'm going to fake that I have a stomach ache, or I'm going to engage in other behaviors because I'm trying to avoid doing my chores, okay? If you give in to that escape or avoidance, then you've basically taught the child you could engage in that behavior because it's going to get you out of what you need to do. And that's why being really consistent with your behavior interventions and how you consecrate is super important if you're looking to reduce the behaviors of your children. The next function is the tension. This could be a tension of eye gaze, facial expression, some physical contact, or just they want that social attention from somebody else, okay? And then the last one is access to a tangible. So this is when they want something and you're not wanting to give it to them and they didn't like that response. So now they're going to engage in another behavior because they're hoping you don't want to hear the kakra. So you're going to give in and you're going to give them what they originally wanted, right? This also is when they have a good cop and a bad cop parent, or it's the parents versus the grandparents. And the parents are saying no, the bad dada come in and they're like, Api Dani, let him have it. And boom, right there, they've learned, I'm gonna go stay with those grandparents because I'm going to get what I want, but I'm not gonna get that with my parents at home. When you do that, you are breaking the consistency and you're breaking the behavior momentum for them to really understand the consistency of ABA. And so for all of you that are with kids or parents, and you are not the direct parent, This is important for you to understand why the parents are saying no when they're saying no, why they say yes when they're saying yes. And I think it's important for you to understand how you should not be reinforcing that behavior, because when you leave after your 3-week stay, we as parents have to undo all the damage you did as you were staying. So that's why I said this is also a typical developing kids as well. You need to know why they're engaging in those behaviors. The next one is components of ABA. I don't know, Kavita, if we have time, we can skip over this because you will have access to this. This is just giving you some visuals, video visuals of what I've just gone over in a clinical setting, and how we as therapists are able to acquire skill sets and replacement behaviors while we're working to reduce the maladaptive behaviors. So that once we come in and teach the kid on a one-on-one setting, and we start generalizing into other environments, and we've gained that momentum of behavior compliance and instructional control, now we get to transfer that over to parents. So parent consultation is a huge component of what we do. And sometimes when you have therapists that are half the age or are not parents, sometimes the parents don't want to hear what they have to say. But the truth is, there's a lot of science that backs up what we're saying, and we've seen it over and over be successful. And so it's important, if you are in the situation, that you are actively involved, and don't assume that the therapist or ABA is a miracle cure / therapy, because we're not, that your teacher should be doing everything, because they shouldn't. It's a team effort. And that also goes along with working with all of the service providers. So ABA behavior analysts and therapists typically do have a strong working relationship with SLPs and also OTs, if that's what the whole team consists of. And we do like to work with our teachers and make the behavior interventions consistent between the school and home setting, but a lot of times behavior analysts are not really welcomed in the school setting. So it's usually a fight when we want to go in there and support that. So with parent involvement, again, the more you're involved, the more progress you're going to see. You are not going to see progress if you're having a child in school for 6 hours and all of their behaviors are being reinforced, and then they have a 3-hour ABA session after school, and then you let them do whatever they want to do, engaging whatever behaviors that however long. That's not going to aid in progress. And you're going to then think that these therapies are not working and the child is not going to make progress. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, a lot of consistency to be able to see the progress that you're going to want to see. And in that one video, every progressive step, every time your child engages in a skill set that's desired and decreases their maladaptive behavior, you need to make sure that you're throwing parties for that and acknowledging. Don't look at the overall outcome. Don't look at the long-term goal. Look at all of the small steps that's getting them to that progression of the ultimate goal. So the next slide goes over, again, collaboration efforts with other providers. If you're a parent and you know you have to have, your child has to have speech therapy as well as occupational, make sure that everybody is continuously communicating and working as a team. So in conclusion, when we're looking at effective uses of ABA, you need to know that progress is going to take time. Consistency is extremely important. The slide before this, Kavita. Behaviors are going to definitely get worse before we come in. And when that happens, that's when everybody wants to give up. No, I cannot handle the behaviors. It's impeding in our life, our family life. We have other kids. But if you have spent 4 to 5 years reinforcing all of the behaviors in a wrong way, then it's going to take us a long time to undo all of that and then go towards progress. Once you start seeing progress, you're going to buy into all the therapies. But know that if you really want to help your child with special needs, you're going to have to believe in these therapies because they're scientifically proven to be effective. Your patterns of behavior are going to be the most difficult to break when it comes to parents and family members. So if you are going to initiate therapy for your child, then make sure that everybody that comes in contact with that child is also on board, because it cannot just be one parent and it cannot just be the parent. It needs to be the siblings. It needs to be all of the masis, the masas, all of the grandparents and all of the extended family as well, okay? The longer the reinforcement history, it's gonna take us a lot longer to break, and you need to know that up front so you don't give up. So in conclusion, ABA is going to be effective once everybody starts understanding why is the child engaging in that behavior. And once you understand the why, you're going to be able to be more effectively and successfully able to match the appropriate intervention. We have tools, we have bags of intervention. That doesn't necessarily mean for every tantrum behavior, we're going to implement the same exact intervention. We have to know your kid. We have to get to know why they're engaging in that behavior. That's why every child's program has to be different. I'm going to reiterate this again. Consistency is very, very important. And in our community, even more important. And so I really do hope that this talk brings out not just awareness about autism and what is out there from our own community members that are in providing the therapy, but also understanding that it starts from everybody within that family. And lastly, the acceptance and awareness of autism is the most first and crucial step if we really want to go towards opening the doors to other endless possibilities for that child to actually have a fully functional life. There are plenty of kids that have autism, special needs, intellectual disabilities, and they're completely indistinguishable. They have gone into mainstream class, they're holding down jobs. Our company actually employs 4 adults with autism working at the company that I used to actually do therapy with 20-some years ago. So there are lots of things that they're able to do. Dismissing them, labeling them, and judging them isn't going to get us there. So if you are part of a family that has a child with autism, then start understanding what it is, what the therapies are, do your own research, and then make sure you're part of a team that is aiding in helping that kid progress, not reinforcing the behaviors in a different way. And that's all I have. Sorry it took so long. I'm very passionate about this topic. Anyways, thank you so much to everybody, and thank you for listening and attending.
રામ કબીર, મારું નામ હીના શાહ છે અને આજે ભક્તા સમાજને ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર કે મને આજે તમને આ ટાઈમ આપ્યો છે કે બધાને સાથ ઓટિઝમ અવેરનેસ ની વિશે વાત કરવાની. પહેલા હું તમને કહું કે મારું ગુજરાતી તૂટેલું છે અને મારા ઉપર ધીરજ રાખજો. ધારો કે હું કંઈ ખોટું બોલું તો હસી લેજો, મને ખોટું નહીં લાગે, ઉલટાનું મને આનંદ આવશે. બરાબર? મારા 2 છોકરાઓ છે. મારી સૌથી મોટી સોનિયા 10 વર્ષની છે અને એ 5મા ધોરણમાં છે, અને મારો નાનો છોકરો 8 વર્ષનો છે અને એ 3જા ધોરણમાં છે, અને મારો સન સમીર ઓટિસ્ટિક છે. સમીર જ્યારે 18 વર્ષનો હતો ત્યારે મેં અને એના પપ્પા નોટિસ કર્યા કે સમીર અમારા સામે નતો જોતો, અમારા આંખમાં, અને ખાસ તો બોલતો નતો. સમીર ખાસી વખતે લાઇટ સામે જોતો હતો અને પંખા સામે જોતો હતો. થોડું મને લાગતું હતું કે એને કંઈક થતું હશે, એટલે સમીરને અમે એને પીડિયાટ્રિશિયનને ત્યાં લઈ ગયા અને પીડિયાટ્રિશિયનને અમને કીધું કે સમીરને ન્યુરોલોજિસ્ટની જરૂર છે. અમે જ્યારે ન્યુરોલોજિસ્ટને સમીરને ત્યાં લઈ ગયા તો એ લોકોએ થોડા એક્સરસાઇઝ કર્યા હતા સમીર સાથે, આંખ સાથે, એના હાથ સાથે રમકડા રમતા હતા. 2-3 મીટિંગ પછી ડોક્ટરે મને અને સમીરના પપ્પાને કીધું કે સમીરને ઓટિઝમ છે. મા તરીકે બહુ દુઃખ થયું એ વખતે. તમને થાય કે તમારા છોકરાને કંઈ ખામી છે, કંઈ ખૂટ્યું છે. એ વખતે અમને કશું ઓટિઝમના વિશે નતા જાણતા, અને જ્યારે તમે જાણતા ના હોય તો તમને તરત જ બીક લાગવા માંડે, અને જ્યારે માણસને બીક લાગે ત્યારે એ વખતે એટલા વિચારો આવે ને, ઘણા ખોટા વિચારો આવે. એ સાંભળવાનું બહુ મુશ્કેલ હતું મારા ઉપર. ઘણી વખત આપણા સમાજમાં આવા શબ્દ સાંભળીને સહન નથી થતું. ઘણા લોકો કે એમના રિએક્શન જુદા જુદા હોય. ઘણાને ડિનાયલ થઈ જાય કે ના, આપણા કુટુંબમાં ના હોઈ શકે, ના, બરાબર છે છોકરો, બરાબર છોકરી છે, આ તો કશું નથી. ઘણાને બીક લાગે કે મારા છોકરાને શું થશે, મોટો થઈને શું થશે એને. ઘણાને ગુસ્સો પણ આવે, ભગવાનના ઉપર ગુસ્સો આવે કે તે કેમ મારા છોકરાને આવું કર્યું. ઘણાને ગિલ્ટ પણ થાય, મને પણ થયો હતો કે મેં કશું ખોટું કર્યું હતું મારા પ્રેગ્નન્સીમાં. ઘણાને તો ખાસ તો કન્ફ્યુઝન બહુ થઈ જાય કે ઓટિઝમ ના જાણતું હોય તો હવે શું કરવાનું. આવા રિએક્શન્સ ને આપણા સમાજમાં બહુ આવે છે, એટલે ભક્તા સમાજને આ સરસ ટોપિક દીધું છે કે જેથી કરીને આપણને બધાને સમજણ આવે કે જ્યારે આપણને ડોક્ટરને કંઈક ડાયગ્નોસિસ આપે તો આપણે કેવી રીતે સહન કરવાનું, સહન કરી લેવાનું, પણ પછી કંઈક તો કરવું પડે. એ દુઃખ અને વિચાર લેવાનું, અંદર સહન કરવાનું, પછી કાઢી લેવાનું, કામે લાગી જવાનું, ગેટ ટુ વર્ક. કયા કામ તમારે કરવાનું, પહેલા તમારા ડોક્ટરને સાથે તમારે પ્લાન બનાવવાનું, તમારા છોકરાઓ સાથે શું કરવાનું, કયા ખાવાનું બનાવવાનું, કયા થેરાપિસ્ટ સાથે જવાનું, કયા થેરાપી રાખવાનું, સ્પીચ થેરાપી, ઓક્યુપેશનલ થેરાપી. ખાસ તો તમારા ઓટિઝમના વિશે ખૂબ ખૂબ જાણી લેવાનું, અને ખૂબ જાણી લેવાનું એટલે તમારે વાંચવાનું, તમારે બીજા લોકો સાથે મળવાનું. મને શું હેલ્પફુલ થયું, જ્યારે સમીરનું ડાયગ્નોસિસ જ્યારે આવ્યું ત્યારે મેં બીજા મા બાપો જેના એમના છોકરાઓ ઓટિસ્ટિક હોય એમના સાથે મેં ખૂબ સપોર્ટ લીધો, કારણ કે એ લોકો જાણે કે શું કરવાનું એમના છોકરાઓ માટે. એ સપોર્ટ બહુ મહત્વનો છે. તમને ઓટિઝમને જાણવા માટે મેં એક પત્ર લખ્યું છે. એક 9 વર્ષ લખે છે પત્ર. એક 9 વર્ષનો ઓટિસ્ટિક છોકરો એના દાદા દાદીને પત્ર લખે છે. ડિયર દાદા દાદી, તમને બંને ને એક વસ્તુ કેવું છે કે તમને લાગતું હશે કે હું બહુ તોફાની છું અને વિચિત્ર છોકરો છું. તમે લાસ્ટ ટાઈમ અમારા ઘરે આવ્યા હતા ત્યારે બધા અમે મૂવી જોવા ગયા હતા. ત્યારે હું બહુ ચીસો પાડતો હતો અને હું મારા હાથ મારા કાન ઉપર મૂકતો હતો. જ્યારે મૂવી પતી ગયું, દાદા મારા ઉપર આવ્યા અને ગુસ્સો કર્યો અને મને કીધું તે મૂવી તારા નાના બેન માટે બગાડી કાઢ્યું. પછી અમે બધા રેસ્ટોરન્ટમાં ખાવા ગયા. ત્યારે અમે બધા બેસતા હતા. હું ઊભો થયો અને આગળ પાછળ હું ચાલતો હતો. દાદી, મેં સાંભળી લીધું કે તે મમ્મીને પૂછ્યું, આ છોકરો કેમ બેસતો નથી, બહુ જ કકરાટ કરે છે. મને લાગે છે કે તમને હું ગમતો નથી. પણ મારે તમને એક વસ્તુ કહેવું છે કે હું તમારા જેવો નથી. હું જુદો છું. હું ઓટિસ્ટિક છું. તમને લોકોને થતું હશે મારે કોઈના માટે પડેલી નથી, પણ આ વાત સાચી નથી. મેં એટલે આ પત્ર લખ્યું છે કારણ કે મારે તમને બંનેને કહેવું છે, પ્લીઝ ઓટિઝમના વિશે વાંચો અને તમારા જાત માટે અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડ કરો, જેથી કરીને તમે મને સમજી શકો. જ્યારે તમને સમજણ આવશે ઓટિઝમના વિશે, એ સમજણ તમે સંબંધો સુધારવામાં ઘણી મદદરૂપ થશે. જો દાદા દાદી, મારે બહુ જ ઈચ્છા છે કે તમે જ્યારે નેક્સ્ટ ટાઈમ મારા ઘરે આવશો ત્યારે આપણે મમ્મી પપ્પા સાથે પાર્કમાં ચાલવા જઈશું અને સાંજે મમ્મી પાઉંભાજી બનાવશે અને પછી આપણે બધા ઓટિઝમની થોડી વાતો કરીશું. આઈ લવ યુ દાદા દાદી. હવે કામે લાગી જવાનું. તમારો લાલો. આ પત્ર મેં કેમ લખેલું છે, કારણ કે મારે તમને બધાને બતાવવું છે કે આ બાળકોના અંદર એમને શું થતું હોય છે. એ લોકો બોલી નથી શકતા, એ લોકો બધું અંદર રાખે છે અને બોલી નથી શકતા તો એમના હાથો વાપરે છે, મારી પણ શકે છે. પણ આ બધા છોકરા આપણને સ્વીકાર કરવાનું છે, એમને ખૂબ ખૂબ પ્રેમ આપવાનું છે. મારો છોકરો સમીર એમના દાદા દાદીને દરરોજ જાય છે. એના દાદા દાદી એના સાથે વાતો કરે છે, રમે છે, નાચે છે, તાળીઓ પાડે છે. જેટલું વસ્તુ એ સોનિયા સાથે કરે છે એટલું જ વસ્તુ એ સમીર સાથે કરે છે. ખાસ તો આજના લીધે મેં કેમ આ પત્ર લખ્યું, કારણ કે આપણા સમાજમાં અમુક વસ્તુ આપણે વાત નથી કરી શકતા, અંદર આપણે રાખીએ છીએ કે છોકરાને બહુ આવા છોકરાને બહુ અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડ ના થતા હોય તો બાજુ ગાંડિયો જેવો છે, વિચિત્ર જેવો છે, આવા શબ્દ એટલું દુઃખ પહોંચાડે છે મા બાપને. આવા મા બાપને ઘણાને આઇસોલેશન જેવું ફીલ થાય કે સમાજમાં આપણને અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડ ના કરે તો આપણા બાળકને શું થશે, એને મિત્ર કેવી રીતે બનશે. એટલે મેં આ લખ્યું છે કે મારો છોકરો, મારી ઈચ્છા હોય કે આ દુનિયામાં મારો છોકરો સ્ટ્રાઇવ થાય, થ્રાઇવ થાય, અને એ પણ સક્સેસ, એના સક્સેસ મારા સક્સેસ હોય. સો હું તમને બધાને પ્રાર્થના કરું છું કે આમાંથી તમને એક વસ્તુ તમને મળે તો આ વસ્તુ તમે કહો કે કામે લાગે જવાનું. જેટલું ઇન્ફોર્મેશન ઓટિઝમના ઉપર જાણી રહેવું જોઈએ એટલું જ વધારે મહત્વનું છે. ના કે તમારા કુટુંબમાં એક છોકરાનું ઓટિઝમ છે, ઓટિઝમ શીખવાનું જ છે, કુટુંબમાં હોય કે ના હોય. ડિપ્રેશન શીખવાનું આપણા કુટુંબમાં હોય કે ના હોય. જાત જાતના ટોપિક આપણે શીખવું જોઈએ, કારણ કે આપણે એક સમાજમાં છે. જ્યારે અમે સમાજમાં હોય ને આપણે બધાને મદદરૂપ થાય. મારા મા બાપ નજીકમાં જ રહે છે, મારા મા બાપ વગર મારા મા બાપ એટલા મદદરૂપ થાય છે મારા છોકરાઓ માટે, મારી છોકરા મારા સોનિયા અને સમય માટે. એવી રીતે તમે પણ લાગી જાઓ. મામા મામી, કાકા કાકીઓ, દાદા દાદીઓ, તમે હેલ્પ કરો, સપોર્ટ કરો. પ્રેમ જ આપવાનો, ખૂબ ખૂબ પ્રેમ આપવાનું. અને જ્યારે તમને ખબર ના હોય શું કરવાનું, મા બાપને પૂછો. એમના મા બાપ એમના સાથે છે એવરી ડે, એમને પૂછો અમે શું કરી શકીએ, અમે શું ના કરીએ. ઘણી વખત આપણને પ્રેમ આપવું હોય પણ આપણે ખબર ના હોય, ચીસો પાડતો હોય, હાથ મૂકતો હોય, એ વખતે પૂછવાનું બેટા હું શું કરું તારા માટે. બસ હું કહું પપ્પા બેસી જાઓ, શાંતિથી બેસી જાઓ. એમાં મદદરૂપ પણ થાય. પણ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ પૂછો, વાંચો, જેટલું કરાય એટલું કરો. આખા સમાજને હેલ્પ થશે. ઇવન તમે એક બાળકને હેલ્પ કરશો ને, એ પાવર, એ એનર્જી આખા દુનિયામાં ફરે છે. એટલે એક વસ્તુ, કામે લાગી જવાનું. થેન્ક યુ.
Now we will open for questions to all of our speakers. So feel free to ask any questions. Don't hesitate. This is our time to learn from them. So please ask questions. You can raise hand or ask questions in chat group.
You can unmute yourself and you can ask questions too.
Please unmute yourself.
I don't know.
Okay, do we have any questions, guys?
Yes, I do have one question.
Okay.
First, I'm having રામ કબીર બધા, હું ભક્તા સમાજથી ઘણી બધી નજીક છું. ને મારો ક્વેશ્ચન ખાસ રામ કબીર પંથી, તમારો પંથ એવો છે કે જેમાં કાર્ય છે, એમાં ક્રિયા નથી. ભગવાન માટેની પૂજા પ્રાર્થના કે મંદિરમાં ગયા પૂજા કરી એ નથી. એટલે એમાં તમારું કર્તવ્ય શું કરી શકો તમે બીજા માટે. તો એ એવું છે કે આ બાળક આપણે ત્યાં આવ્યું છે, એક ભગવાન જ આવેલા છે, કે એ ભગવાનની આપણે પૂજા કરીએ. રામ પણ એ છે અને કબીર પણ એ છે. રામ કબીર બાર બીજામાં નથી, જેવા મારામાં છે એવા એનામાં છે, એવા તમારામાં છે. તો એને જ રામ અને એને જ કબીર સમજી અને આપણે એઝ અ ગ્રાન્ડ પેરેન્ટ, હું બહુ પ્રાઉડ મધર ઓફ હીના તમને બધાને રામ કબીર કરું છું. આઈ એમ વેરી પ્રાઉડ ઓફ માય ગ્રાન્ડસન એન્ડ માય ડોટર, કે છેલ્લા 18 મહિને, કદાચ 18 વર્ષ બોલી, પણ 18 મહિનાથી પછી એ એટલી કામે લાગી ગઈ છે કે એણે પોતાની જાતને નીચે મૂકી દીધી છે. પણ અમે એની સાથે છે એઝ અ ગ્રાન્ડ પેરેન્ટ. એટલે બધા ગ્રાન્ડ પેરેન્ટને તમને કહું છું કે આ બાળકોને આપણે આપણી દીકરીને પ્રેમ કરીએ ખૂબ, કે આપણા દીકરાને, જેને ત્યાં બાળક હોય તેને, અને એ લોકો એમના બાળકને પ્રેમ કરે, કારણ એમના તરફથી આપણે પણ એ લોકો માટે કંઈક કરવું પડશે. અને ખાસ કરીને સબસે બડા રોગ ક્યા કહેંગે લોગ, એ પરિસ્થિતિમાંથી હું પોતે પણ પસાર થઈ ગઈ છું. આપણાને પણ બધા સ્ટેજીસ છે કે ગુસ્સો, ડિનાયલ, ને છેલ્લા પછી એક્સેપ્ટન્સ આવે છે. એટલે શરૂઆતના વર્ષોમાં ઓટિઝમ એટલે શું? સ્વલીન, એને ગુજરાતીમાં કહે છે સ્વલીનતા, જે પોતાનામાં લીન છે, એમને બહારની દુનિયામાં લીન નથી, પોતાનામાં છે. એટલે એનું નામ છે સ્વલીન, ઓટિઝમ. તો એ સ્વલીન બાળકોને સાથે આપણે ખૂબ હસીએ, ખૂબ રમીએ, ખૂબ એમને જે જોઈતું હોય કરીએ, ને એમની સાથે એમને કંઈક ને કંઈક નવું શીખવાડીએ. પણ મારે ક્વેશ્ચન પેનલમાંના થેન્ક યુ ટુ આશાબેન, કે હું 2 વર્ષ પહેલા આશાબેનના ક્લિનિકમાં જઈને 10 દિવસ સુધી મેં જાણ્યું હતું કે આ લોકો શું કરે છે, થેરાપિસ્ટ લોકો. અને આશાબેને મને એન્ટ્રી આપી હતી, અને બહુ સરસ રીતે મેં બધું જોયું કે આ થેરાપિસ્ટ લોકો આવા બાળકો સાથે શું કરી રહ્યા છે. અને આશાબેને જે રીતે ડિસ્ક્રાઇબ કર્યું, સાચે જ નહીં બોલતા છોકરાને એ લોકો બોલતા કરે છે, કોલેજમાં પણ લઈ જાય છે ને જોબ પણ અપાવતા હોય છે. એટલે એની તો હું સાક્ષી જ છું. બટ ખાસ મારે એક્સટેન્ડેડ ફેમિલી, મામા મામી, કાકા કાકી, ફોઈ ફુવા, દાદા દાદી, માસા માસી, એ લોકો આશાબેન અને કવિતાબેન આપણા ફેમિલી માટે શું કરી શકે? એઝ એ દાદા દાદી અમે કરીએ છીએ, પણ બીજા લોકો પાસેની અપેક્ષા મારી, ધારો કે આપણે રાખીએ તો કેવી હોઈ શકે? એ લોકો કઈ રીતે હેલ્પ કરે? આઈ વોન્ટ કવિતા ટુ give me the answer and then Ashaben, both.
I think you meant Dipali Ben, so I just want to address.
Oh, sorry, Dipali.
I guess, okay, I'll take a stab at this. If I understood correctly, your question is the grandparents can get an understanding. How are we extending it to the uncles and aunties and all the cousins and so forth?
Yes, how can they help?
I think the most important thing, and something you did, and also my mom did when I was doing therapy 20 some years ago, she came and observed. Unless you're watching videos, now that there's so much more awareness, there's so many more videos being posted, unless you are actually directly watching and observing a session happening live, I don't think you will understand. So that would be my very first recommendation for everybody. I've taken each one of my kids to the clinic. I've had them be social peers. I've had them interact. I've had them observe many sessions. And so they're already given that exposure. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to them knowing what to do in a certain situation, but you're giving them the basic understanding of what that therapy is. What does a speech therapy session look like? I didn't know until I had the privilege of going and observing, or an occupational therapy session. So that would be my answer to that question, is getting them to observe. Or even if the family member, and I had asked Heena this, start taking videos, because start sending those specific videos to your family so they can start watching. You watching YouTube of some other kid isn't going to give you the same knowledge base as to how to help your own niece, nephew, cousin. And it starts with that, and then it starts with exactly what you said. Start asking questions on how I can help. How can I not be part of the problem of reinforcing the behaviors, but how can I be supportive, but at the same time encouraging what the program is meant to do? So that's my long-winded answer.
Okay. So I agree with Asha as well. Just viewing the sessions, observing the sessions, but then also just becoming knowledgeable about what it is, and this is a great step to start. એટલે બધા અહીંયા શીખવા આવેલા છે, learn કરવા આવેલા છે. Take that information level, observe કરો, video વધારે જો, or વાંચો વધારે એ topic પર. and you will find all sorts of information out there. Amra bo badu research cha, and make sure it's accurate. એટલે research appropriate cha, research or kukarlu cha, but then also just being supportive to that family member. Like, I'm pretty sure every mom and dad that has a child with autism, if that mommy is just like, what do I do? Go, like, just give the mom like a 30-minute break. Let her go get coffee, and that'll be very helpful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dipali.
All right. Any more questions?
Ram Kabir, I want to, Rita Bhakta, I want to thank Dipali and Asha Bhabi. We are so proud of you. You have been given such excellent information. And I'm so happy to tell you everyone that all Bhakta Parivar in USA are trying their best to use this Corona phase and having nice topics, awareness for community people. And I'm so proud of you that today Dipali, Asha Bhabi and Kavita, even you give a nice introduction. And I think we started so nicely, divine way, and God was there here with us. And excellent information. There is no question maybe left, right? Because the information was so accurate. Everything has been explained by Asha Bhabi so nicely. Even Dipali explained in nice Gujarati. I like her Gujarati, right? So excellent, good job, and keep going. This is not the last one. Asha Bhabi, Dipali, Kavita, keep doing such work, and I'm proud of you, and thank you very much, all of you.
Okay, we'll take some more questions.
Someone can ask a question. You can just go ahead and ask.
Hello, Ram Kabir. Very nice program. Dipali ji, Asha, Heena Ben, very nice. Lot of information. I'd like to add one thing for general public. As I am what you call the docent or interpreter at California's Sacramento Capitol Museum and Capitol Building. So what they tell us, the neurological problem and physical problems. So we have to recognize it first. And how to be helpful, first we have to recognize what the problem is. And the thing is, when a question was asked, as a general public, uncle, aunts, and whatnot, how we do it. Because some of the kids, and even adults, who are genetically or environmentally challenged, are sometimes very intelligent person. So we have to have a patience. The first they say, when you ask a question, wait a little bit. Give them a time to answer it. The second, when you are talking, don't stare too long towards them. Don't look at in their eyes for too long. Just stand by their side, not in the front. Those are the practical things we can do. These problems, probably we have it recognized in last 50 years. Before there was a problem, but nobody recognized it. So from the 70s, we have started learning about it and studying it and whatnot. So now we know much more than what we used to. So those are impacts. Some are environmental impact and some are genetic. So what we can do, how to lessen it, like earlier, Dipali ji say 1 in 54 person kid is impacted. That's the quite large number. And why is impacting environmentally, that is also important. And what they tell us when they train us as the interpreter at the museum, because we see almost 3 million visitors every year at the California State Capitol. So they say, first of all, the environmental, the plastic, use of the plastic, you are living close to the freeways. The secondly, you are living close to the power grid, the electric lines. Those are impacting in environmental impact. Genetically, we don't know yet. Science is still learning. So there are a lot of factors. So as an individual person, we just have to recognize, we have to take a notice, we have to respond properly, and we have to have a patient and compassionate patient and understanding. That's what they teach us, because we interpret the history at the California State Capitol. So if there is any questions and so forth, these three ladies have presented excellent, but very heavy subject and very serious subject. So I am thankful that Bhakta Samaj and our Pramukh has devoted this session for this important subject. And hopefully we take seriously, because it affects 1.5 million families in this country. It's a very serious thing. And to them, it's very dear and very important. So please, we all recognize and acknowledge and be helpful. Thank you. Ram Kabir.
Thank you, Pa. Thank you for your input. We'll take next question. I think Rekha Mami has a question. Rekha Ben.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Kabir. હા, ક્વેશ્ચન કરતા મારે એ કહેવું હતું. I am a grandma too. અને મારી પાસે પણ એક grandson છે who is autistic. બધું ચાલુ કરવાનો હેતુ કદાચ એ હતો કે જેટલી હું બ્લાઇન્ડ હતી કે મને એવું થાય કે ના ના તો હોય જ ના શકે. આપણે પોતે જ જે એક્સેપ્ટ નથી કરતા એ બીજા માટે પણ એક્સેપ્ટ કરવાનું અઘરું છે. પણ મારે તો આજે એટલું જ કહેવું છે કે એક 5 વર્ષનો છોકરો, મારો મોટો ગ્રાન્ડસન, એણે મને કીધું કે બા, he is fine, it's just એના બ્રેનમાં કંઈક થયું છે ને એટલે he is not talking. મારા માટે જેટલું દુઃખદાયક હતું, it was a shock. પણ એ છોકરો એટલું જલ્દી સમજી ગયો કે મારે મારા ભાઈને ટેક કેર કરવાની છે. એક 5 વર્ષના છોકરામાં આટલી બુદ્ધિ હોય કે મારે ટેક કેર કરવાની છે, તો મારી પાસે તો આટલો મોટો સમાજ છે. આ સમાજ પાસે હું એટલી તો આશા રાખી શકું કે કોઈ પણ આવા છોકરા હોય, they are intelligent, they are unique, what they need it's just love. એક જ પીરિયડ એવો છે કે જ્યારે એ લોકોને સિમ્પથી જોઈએ, પણ ત્યાર પછી સપોર્ટ ઇઝ ધ મેઇન થિંગ. તમારો સપોર્ટ અને તમારો પ્રેમ એમના માટે કાયમ તમે ચાલુ રાખજો. ઇટ્સ નોટ જસ્ટ કિડ્સ, એ લોકોના પેરેન્ટ્સને પણ એટલી સપોર્ટની જરૂર પડે છે. બીકોઝ એ લોકો આઇસોલેટેડ થઈ જાય છે, કોર્નર્ડ થઈ જાય છે ફેમિલીથી, ફ્રેન્ડ્સથી, કે ઓ આને લઈને આવશે ને તો બીજાને મજા નહીં આવે, આવી ફિલિંગ થાય છે બીજાને. પણ એટ ધ સેમ ટાઈમ ઘણા ફેમિલી, ઘણા પેરેન્ટ્સ એવા છે કે એ લોકો એ સ્પેસ આપે છે કે તમારા બાળકને તમે વહેલા લઈને આવજો. એને બધા સાથે કે લાઇટ કે ઘોંઘાટથી થોડું એ થાય છે કે અનકમ્ફર્ટેબલ લાગે છે, તો તમે વહેલા આવી જજો. એવા પણ ફેમિલી છે. મારે તો સમાજને એટલું જ કહેવું છે કે પ્લીઝ, આ ચેપ્ટર આઈ નો ઇટ્સ અ હેવી સબ્જેક્ટ, પણ આ ચેપ્ટર મોટાને અને નાનાને બધાને માટે આ બહુ જ ઉપયોગી છે. જે જનરેશન ગ્રાન્ડ પેરેન્ટ્સનું છે એ લોકોએ સમજવાનું છે, અને અત્યાર પછી જે પેરેન્ટ્સ છે કે પેરેન્ટ્સ થવાના છે એ લોકોએ પણ આમાં બહુ જ ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ લેવાનો છે. બીકોઝ પહેલા 67 અને 1 ચાઇલ્ડ એવું હતું, આજે 54 પર આવી ગયું છે. સો વી હેવ ટુ થિંક અબાઉટ ધીસ. પણ મેઇન થિંગ આઈ વિશ બધા સમજે અને એમનો સપોર્ટ અને પ્રેમ બાળકો માટે એમના હંમેશા દ્વાર ખુલ્લા રાખે. ધેટ્સ ઇટ આઈ વોન્ટ. અને થેન્ક યુ સો મચ જીતુભાઈ, અમારી રિક્વેસ્ટ તમે સાંભળી. અને ઘણી બધી મધર્સ એવી છે કે આજે નથી આવી શકી કે નથી આમાં જોઈન થતી. એમાં પણ એક ફિયર છે. જે સમાજ આ કરી શકે છે એ જ સમાજનો ફિયર છે કે સમાજ મને કહેશે કે ઓ આનો છોકરો આવો છે, ઓ આ છે. એટલે સમાજે જ ઓપન થવાની જરૂર છે, સમાજે જ કરવાની જરૂર છે. આવા બધી વસ્તુની વી આર ધેર ફોર યુ, એ કાઇન્ડની ફિલિંગ આપવાની જરૂર છે. ધેટ્સ ઓલ. અને બધાને જ, કવિતા, દીપાલી, આશા અને હિના, તું તો જયારે બોલતી હતી ને, આઈ વોઝ ક્રાઇંગ અ લોટ, બીકોઝ એક મધરના દિલ પર જે વીતે છે એ કોઈ પણ નથી વીતતી, અને એને લીધે તમારું આખી લાઈફ બદલાઈ જાય છે. તમે રાત્રે એવો વિચાર કરતા હોય કે ચાલો પાર્ટી ટાઈમ અને નીકળી જઈએ, એ નથી થતું. તો બીજા બધા પણ યંગ પેરેન્ટ્સ આ વસ્તુ થિંક કરે અને એકબીજા માટે ઉભા રહે. ધેટ્સ ઓલ. થેન્ક યુ. અને રામ કવિ.
થેન્ક યુ રેખા મમ્મી.
મારી એક સ્ટેટમેન્ટ છે, એક ખાસ આ પણ ગ્રાન્ડ મધર નંબર 2 ઇઝ સેઇંગ ધેટ કે મેં જયારે સપોર્ટની વાત કરી ત્યારે આશાબેન એ લોકોએ તો સરસ સમજાવ્યું. સપોર્ટ એ તો જુદી વસ્તુ છે, પણ ફેમિલી, પાડોશી, આપણા ફ્રેન્ડ્સ, કારણ આ નવો સમાજમાં જે છોકરાઓ અહીંયા જન્મ્યા છે એ લોકો હેલ્પ માંગવા માટે હિચકિચાટ કરે છે. એમને આપણા ઇન્ડિયાના બાળકો જેવું ફટ દે કે નો મામી, માસી મારી માટે આવું કરજો ને, ફોઈ મારે આ જોઈએ છે જરા આપી જજો ને, એવું બોલનારા નથી આ દેશમાં જન્મેલા છોકરાઓ. એ લોકો હાઈડ થઈ જાય છે. એ લોકો એકલું કખું આજુબાજુ બાંધી દે છે કે મને કોઈની હેલ્પ નથી જોઈતી, મારે કોઈને ટ્રબલમાં નથી મૂકવા. એટલે એવા લોકોને એક્સટેન્ડ કરીને તમે પૂછો. તમે, એ તો નાના છે, એ તો એમના માટે તો અત્યારે આભ તૂટી પડ્યું છે, હથોડા પડ્યા છે એમના મગજ પર અત્યારે. ભગવાને એમને એવું થાય કે ભગવાન પર ગુસ્સો આવે. હિના બોલતી હતી ને, તો એ રીતે હું તમને કહું છું કે મામા, મામી, કાકા, ફોઈ બધા તમે ફિગર ઇટ આઉટ કરો કે અમે આ લોકો માટે શું કરી શકીએ. જેવી રીતના કીધું કે અડધી કલાક મળે ને આપ કે જ્યાં સ્ટારબક્સમાં કોફી લઈ આવતું ને મફિન ખાઈને આવો, તે એવું તમે ફિગર ઇટ આઉટ કરો કે તમે એના માટે શું કરી શકો. કારણ એ લોકોનું અત્યારે ઓપન માત્ર બાળકોની માટે જ એમનું હાર્ટ અત્યારે ઓપન છે. એ લોકો પોતા માટે કશું વિચારી જ નથી શકતા. ને આપણા ભક્તા સમજમાં આ રીતનું જે તે ગોઠવ્યું અને જે રીતે વાત કરી તે રીતે અત્યારે મેં મારી આખી ફેમિલી અહીંયા છે અત્યારે. મારા ભાઈ બહેનો અને મારા હસબન્ડના ભાઈ બહેનો અત્યારે બધા સાંભળી રહ્યા છે. એટલે ડાયરેક્ટલી હું એમને પણ આ મેસેજ આપી રહી છું કે અત્યાર સુધી તમને કદાચ હિનાએ તમને ના બોલાવ્યા હોય કે હિના તમને નથી કહી શકતી કે, તો તમે એને રીચ આઉટ કરો. એ તમને રીચ આઉટ નથી કરવાના કે આઈ નીડ હેલ્પ. મને પોતાને પણ એવું હતું કે હું પણ નથી કરી શકતી કે હિના ના કે તો પછી એની પ્રાઇવસી, એને સ્પેસ આપો એને, તો એ વાત જરા નથી બરોબર. આઈ શુડ હેવ આસ્ક હર કે હિના શું છે 10 વખત પૂછીને વોટ ડુ યુ નીડ, વોટ કેન આઈ ડુ ફોર યુ. અને ના અમે આટલા વર્ષ પછી અત્યારે વેરી કમ્ફર્ટેબલ વિથ ધ હોલ સિચ્યુએશન. શી કમ્સ ટુ મી, એ મને બધી વાત કરે છે. આઈ ટેલ હર એવરીથિંગ વોટ યુ નીડ, એને શું જોઈએ છે. એટલે પ્લીઝ બધા એક્સટેન્ડેડ ફેમિલી, તમે લોકો બધા આવા લોકોની મધરને, ફાધરને, બધાને તમે હેલ્પ કરો. ઓકે, થેન્ક યુ સો મચ ફોર લિસનિંગ.
Thank you, Auntie. I think Taru Patel has a question. Taru Ben? Taru Ben, San Antonio. Unmute yourself and you can ask.
You should have one more unmute request on your screen.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Taru Ben.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm from my name is Taru Patel from San Antonio, Texas. I'm a bhakta, and I have a 23-year-old son who has autism. His name is Raj Bhakta. And my only question is, he's still struggling with social distancing. And also, sometimes he gets very frustrated when he doesn't understand certain things that I have to explain to him step by step. What can I do to calm him down when he's having a meltdown? Sometimes he has a meltdown, sometimes he doesn't. But when he doesn't understand things, he kind of get really upset and angry. So I try to keep my patience. We try, be patient with him and let him explain how he wants it. But then I let him calm down and then I talk to him about it. So what can I do to just make him understand the world is changing, and he still doesn't understand the world is changing and he's having a difficult time adjusting. That's what it is.
Dr. Asha, you want to answer this? Dr. Asha?
Yes. Dr. Asha?
Okay, so without knowing too much and too many, I would need a lot more information, but to provide you with a response initially, if he's a visual learner, I would definitely
Yes, he
implement
is.
a lot more visuals
Visual
up
learner.
front.
Right now, yeah, go ahead.
And I would do repeat. So a lot of times people think just because they're a visual learner, I'm going to display, I'm sure you've been exposed to social stories and so forth. If I do it once, if I do a walkthrough one time, that's going to be enough. That's not enough. You're going, especially with the COVID response. We've had to do multiple presentations, multiple videos, role modeling with our staff, and then also being able to implement it live and reinforcing when the appropriate behavior is provided. So if you don't go through all of those steps and you're continuously just talking, this is not what you need to do, this is what we can do, you have to wear this mask, that's not going to work. You're going to have to take all of the other steps necessary and practice. Lots
Yes,
of
we did practice. We do practice, and he does it now. He does everything now. But he's having a really hard time socializing, social skills. That's the main thing. My concern is social skills. And I tried everything, therapy for the last 23 years, therapy, school, putting him into our family. He knows everybody in the family. He's okay with the whole family. The family, he loves him too. I don't have a problem with that. But I want him to at least, like right now he's working at a 99-cent store, and he has to communicate with the customers. I asked his boss how he's doing, and the boss says that he does very well. He's doing good, but he just needs to interact with the customers. And I tell him, but then he gets mad. He goes, "Mom, I don't want to talk to the customers." And I said, "Well, it's just you interacting with the customers. That's what your boss wants you to do." And I said, "Well, at least try to talk to them." And he says, if you say, "Hey, can I help you with something?" Or "Can I show you something that you need?" Or somebody asks you a question, and tell them, he goes, "Well," he tells me, "Somebody asks me a question, I tell them to go to the front." I said, "Okay, well, that's a start."
Do you, I don't know, and maybe you and I can have a private conversation, but is he allowed to have a job coach at the site?
No, he's actually on his independent on his own. He works at least once a week, though. He knows he has to go to work on every Sunday. It's his job. So there's no coach there, but he does everything so well over there. That's what they say. Even the customers even tell me that your son is a good worker. But I don't know. I feel like I want him to express more for himself, to talk more.
Right. So you giving him those instructions outside of that setting is just you having a verbal conversation, right? That job coach, even if he's independent, my adults that come, they all come with job coaches to work on the social aspect in a work environment, and they're practicing every day. So they set really small goals. So if you want to set one goal of a greeting, eye contact, how can I help you? Then you're only going to work on that target behavior. When he does it, even though he's older and he's independent, he still needs to be reinforced for that behavior. We all still need to be reinforced for our behaviors.
Yeah, we enforce it very well. I mean, I try to, but then sometimes I have to be very firm. And when I get firm, he listens. So then, well, sometimes I have to put my foot down with him because he's 23-year-old. He's an adult. I mean, all those time when he was growing up, it was okay for him to have those meltdowns, but he excel out of those meltdowns, but sometimes he gets frustrated and angry when he doesn't understand certain things, what he has to do. I said, "This is a part of life, sweetheart." I told him that this is what you're going to have to do. He doesn't. I tell him that, "Go back to school. I want to send you back to school." Like, he loves going on his laptop. Laptop is his main thing. YouTube is his main thing. He just sits there and he just likes watching YouTube, cartoons, likes playing games. That sometimes, I guess, it just makes him think better, or and I don't know how that works for him. But he just, and he wants to be left alone all the time. He's in his room all the time. Sometimes he'll come out and see what we're doing, and then he'll go back in his room. and do that. But I like for him to sit with me on the sofa and have a good normal conversation with me. But that don't work. I tried that so many times. How would I do that?
So you would first have to, oh, sorry, I thought I was on mute. You would first have to isolate picking preferred topics. So when they definitely do not want to talk to us, we have to think about what topic do you want to talk about, even if it's not age appropriate. Even if I've already talked to you about that, allow it and reinforce those questions, the statements, the continuous repetitive questions and statements. Once they're able to do that and you feel like, wow, I just had a conversation with him, then you can move to your topic of choice or non-preferred. And he may already be reinforced by that social conversation, that social attention that he had with you, or he's not going to. Unfortunately, for this population, it has to be artificially set up until it clicks and they realize I actually enjoyed having a conversation and being social. And some of my adult clients, they still don't want to be social. And then you have to decide, is it a skill set you really want to work on or not work on? How much do you want to make it a goal and push it? But there are definite steps you could take to accomplish that. But it would be an intervention.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have
to let go and just let him come back to me. When he comes back to me, then sometimes he'll get mad when I ask him a question. But then later on, in about 5-10 minutes, he'll come back to me. He goes, Mom, you're asking me this question. He goes, then he answers it in a calmly way. I said, okay, well, that's fine. Then, okay, you answered the question I was asking you. But why did you get mad at me? I even asked him, why did you get mad at me when I asked you the first time? And he goes, I didn't understand what you were saying, but then I have to think about it. And I said, okay. I said, does that work for you? And he goes, yeah, it works. I said, okay. So I don't push it too much with him, because the more you push it, the more aggravated and aggressive he gets, and he gets very upset. So I don't push it in that way. When he's ready to talk to me, I talk to him.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to interrupt this conversation. Asha, maybe you can message her privately if you want to have a private conversation.
Okay,
later.
Thank you.
Sure,
but I'm sorry that I have to interrupt. Jay Bhakta had raised his hand. Jay Uncle, did you have a question?
I just had a real quick question, and anybody, the experts on the panel, can maybe address this. We were talking a little bit earlier about, genetic reasons for this or causes for this and environmental factors that could potentially contribute to this. Are there credible studies that would, let's say, link environmental factors to autism?
There are, but they're not concluded with, I guess, a very concrete, substantial result to actually say that this has a functional relation, in the sense that the environmental factors directly affect as a child having autism. So everybody wants to know why. Everybody wants to know how to prevent it. What is the cause of it? There is no cause of it yet, and that's why if you think it is vaccine related, you're going to go off on supporting that cause. If you think it's environmental, you're going to say that. I definitely think that you have a predisposed response to this already, and some factor in your environment, or even if you've taken some medications or so forth, and also the hereditary issues all lend itself. But if it was everybody having the same vaccination or the same prototype of pregnancy or what happened after the fact, then we'd have a lot more kids with autism too, and we don't. So the correlation of what causes autism is not concrete yet. There's a lot of, let's throw this out there. Some people think it's paint, some people think it's certain environments, but there is no concrete answer to that. And that's why I think what's more important is to now focus on, okay, my child got the formal diagnosis, and now I need to go into an action plan of what to do. Because if you spend so much time focusing on the causes, you're going to spend a lot of time not getting an answer that you probably, you won't get an answer, you won't like it.
Great, thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make sure that if there were studies out there, people are aware, but then also not go on misinformation to say, hey, if there's a if I live close to a freeway, do I need to move? Or if I live close to a power line, do I need to move, or whatnot? So thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Jay.
Sanmukh uncle had a question also.
Not a question, but a comment. What I said earlier came from UC Davis Mind Institute. And also, I like to suggest one book, which is I Am Different, Not Less. I Am Different, but Not Less, is by Dr. Temple Grandin. And that is very enlightening on this subject. So that's what I have to say. And specifically, you know, two things, genetic, we cannot help it, but environmentally, there is no conclusion yet, but there are some studies suggesting that environmental also does affect. And also every child has a light and a touch and a noise. If there is a noisy environment, some child act differently. There is a light sensitivity and so on. So there are different factors and the spectrum is so wide, very little deformity to extreme. Some are physical and some are mental. So those are the things. It's a complex subject and I am glad that we are discussing this, but we all have to be mindful and be considerate and kind and be thankful that this forum is available. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sanmukh Kaka. Due to timing, I think if anybody has questions, they can email us at srbsusa@gmail.com and we will pass it to our panelists and pass the answer as well to you guys. I have a lot to say, but due to timing, I'm going to make it very short. I'm going to start with announcing event and then towards different way to end this meeting. Of course, we have our next event on 24th, Thursday. We are celebrating pre-Navratri with Namrata Shoni and group. It will be broadcasted live on SRBS of USA Facebook page. Time is 8 p.m. Central, Thursday, September 24th. Once again, 24th September, Thursday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. So please note that. We also have our next Zoom session planned. We are configuring final details and we will post that to our social media and chat group. And then you all can join us on, for the Zoom as well. All of our 12 different chapter bhajan, which will be a nationwide 2-day event. It is in planning stage. So just make a note to reach out to your local board members and ask for more information. Also, I have no words for today's session. How can I put this in sentence? I'm kind of a bit speechless and emotional as well. I reached out to one parent because I wanted to learn about autism. They felt that I was being kind of rude or disrespectful, and I'm going to apologize to them today on the live session here. My goal was to collect information from you and, you know, share this with Bhakta Samaj on this session here. My goal was not to insult you and your family. I'm not going to name it. On that one, I'm going to come to heena shah. હિનાબેન આપણી કહેવત છે ગુજરાતીમાં કે પારકીમાં જ કાન વિંધે. બધાને આ કહેવત ખબર જ હશે. જ્યારે અમારા સમાજના મા બાપ લોકોને અમારી સાથે ચર્ચા કરવામાં સંકોચ થાય છે તો અમારે તમારી પાસે આવવું પડ્યું. અને તમે જે આજે બ્લન્ટલી જે તમે બોલ્યા છે, તમારા વ્યૂ શેર કર્યા છે ને, આજે અમારા સમાજમાં ઘણા લોકોની આંખ ખોલી જશે. આ ખૂબ જ જરૂરી હતું. So I think thank you would not be good enough, but I want to thank entire family, even grandma, uncle, auntie, whoever was present. it is very difficult that you go and talk to somebody. But what you have discussed today is going to help not only Bhakta community, but a lot of other parents to come forward and discuss this with somebody. I will open this further because anyone can reach me for any issues you may have or personal issues you may have. I will direct you towards the right person. I have lots of contact with young professionals, and we will get help to you. And then regarding this autism, I have at least now one family who is willing to share their views with young parents, how to deal with kids or situation or even community. પેલા માસીએ बहुत સરસ કે सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे लोग. As a Bhakta Samaj president, I want to kill them. આપણે કોઈ જાતની શરમ રાખવાની જરૂર નથી. આપણને કોઈ પણ બીમારી હોય, આપણા સાથે કંઈ પણ ખોટું થયું હોય, તો આપણે તેને સમાજમાં લાવીએ, એકબીજાને એમનો અનુભવ કરાવીએ અને તેમાંથી શીખીને આપણે બીજા કોઈ સાથે એવો ખરાબ અનુભવ ના થાય એવા આપણે પ્રયાસો કરીએ. આ અમારો ગોલ છે ભક્ત સમાજ યુએસએની લીડરશિપ તરફથી. So yes, definitely there are more sensitive subject. We will bring you on a future Zoom event. But once again, Heena Ben, you did excellent, fabulous job explaining and sharing your personal stories, and we are so thankful and so proud of you. This session, we were struggling for this, but Kavita Ben, you approached Southern California chapter. They approached me. We got in touch regarding this, and here we are today. So I will basically salute you, Kavita Ben, and your effort to host this session in such a manner. I think we have made impact today. I am already receiving a text here on my phone regarding this event. Dr. Asha, we have a lot of young professionals in Bhakta community. We have approached some. A lot of people are feeling kind of shy or hesitating, giving us education. I want to learn as a president, as a family man, my Samaj want to learn. So I will request you all, when we approach you for some information or, to have a session like this and educating our community, please have 30 to 40 minutes of your time, for your Samaj. It will not only help, a lot of people, it will bring education, it will bring, new discussion, and a lot of things can open up after that. So please, I'm requesting you all, when we reach out to you for certain things, help us out. We need your help, of course. Our goal is to educate people and improve. Dipali, તમે જે ગુજરાતીમાં ખાસ બોલ્યા દીપાલી બેન, it was very helpful. Very, very helpful. ખૂબ જ બધાને એમનાથી આનંદ થયો, ઘણાને સારી સમજ પડી. So thank you, Deepali Ben. Thank you, all the viewers. I was told by one of my friends, કાજે તો ફૂટબોલ છે, સન્ડે છે, તમે હું કામ સેશન રાખ્યું? I want him to watch this session on Facebook later on. And that person can text me via Skip Football. I'm a diehard football fan. Okay. Community awareness is important to me and all these people watching. So I think have a faith on someone doing the job and support them. Football is going to be there, sports are going to be there, cricket is going to be there, fine. However, if la માસે કે ને કે આપણે કોઈને મદદ કરી શકીએ ને, તો એનાથી મોટો બીજો સંતોષ કોઈના માટે નથી. So we all work as one group, and today's, I think I will give full credit to Kavita and her team. And really, I have no words for all of the panelists, speaker, and Bhakta Samaj of Southern California. So thank you all. I think it was very much needed to bring or to put light on this sensitive subject of autism. So thank you all. If panelists allow us, we will share this their information, to Taruben, and they can get in touch with them on a one-on-one for more information. So I hope it is okay to pass information of Dr. Asha to Taruben. All right. So once again, thank you all. Thank you, Kavita. Great, fabulous job. I'm so proud that you came on board in Southern California. I think when the youngster steps up, things are going to happen, and we will change as SRBS. You know, one day at a time, one event at a time, we will change as SRBS, and that is our goal. Thank you all. Ram Kabir.
Ram Kabir.
Kavita, when you can wrap this up, I guess.
I think you pretty much said it all, Jitubai. Thank you so much. I am a student of, I'm getting my master's in social work. So working with the community, creating awareness, opening people's mind, bringing people together is my passion. And I'm so glad that I can use our Samaj as a means to do that for our community. So thank you everyone for coming and being open-minded and participating. We really appreciate it. કોઈ પણ બીજા topics માટે તમારે આવું awareness રાખવું હોય તો reach out to any one of us, Jitubhai or me, and we'll try our best to get something started.
Thank you very much, Kavita. Can you also please send me all the panelists' email, because I'll be sending them a letter of thanks on behalf of SRBS. Thank you all. I think we can end this meeting. All right, so Roshan, we can go and end this meeting. Thank you all. Ram Kabir, see you on next Zoom session. Stay tuned. Ram Kabir.